President Biden's effort to flatten the curve across the country includes how we travel. Biden issued an executive order to mandate masks on public transportation. Our Kenesha Dees has the details on how much this will impact us here in the Tennessee Valley.
Currently, with the information that we have, we do know that the variant strain is in the United States, and so we're all extremely concerned that this really more infectious strain, for example, needs to be curbed as much as possible.
One of President Biden's executive orders is to wear masks on public transportation, including airports. While this is a federal mandate, Biden is tapping on state leaders and state health officials to slow the spread. On Thursday, Governor Kay Ivey extended the mask order to March 5th.
I do think it will be helpful for people to understand the requirements of this, and also helpful for persons to be able to know that this is something they need to prepare for.
Airports and airlines have already implemented mask orders. Port of Huntsville officials say they've continued to follow the state mask order that's in alignment with the executive order.
We're still here to keep everybody accountable, and we monitor the mask wearing just to make sure that everybody's staying as safe as possible.
In addition to the travel mask mandate, masks must be worn on federal property. Federal employees are also required to wear them.
For example, they're going into a building, they're going to be traveling, or other activities. Again, it is just one of those layers, and we think it's very important to continue these mitigation standards while we try to get more vaccine.
And the executive order requiring mask wearing includes trains, maritime vessels, and intercity buses. Putting the Valley first, Kenesha Dees, WZDX News.